In the first pages of Genesis, Adam and Eve, the first humans, already cast out of the Garden of Eden. Their exile, the beginning of life outside paradise, a life of labor, mortality, and the long struggle of human civilization. After their expulsion, they had two sons, Cain, the firstborn, and Abel, the younger brother. Cain became a farmer, working the soil. Abel became a shepherd, tending flocks. In time, both brothers brought offerings to God. Abel offered the best of his flock, while Cain brought produce from his fields. The biblical narrative tells us that God favored Abel's offering, but rejected Cain's. The reason for this preference has been debated for centuries. Some interpret it as a matter of sincerity. Others see it as symbolic. The shepherd offering the life of an animal versus the farmer offering crops from the earth. Whatever the reason, the result was the same. Cain's jealousy began to grow. God warned him directly. Sin is crouching at your door. It desires to have you, but you must rule over it. But Cain did not master it. Instead, he invited Abel into the field. There, away from witnesses, Cain killed his brother. The first murder in human history had taken place. After the murder, God confronted Cain. "Where is your brother Abel?" Cain responded with the now famous line, "I do not know. Am I my brother's keeper?" But the crime could not be hidden. According to the text, Abel's blood cried out from the ground itself. Cain was then cursed with exile. The earth, which had once produced crops for him, would no longer yield its strength. He would become a fugitive and a wanderer upon the earth. Cain feared this fate deeply. He worried that anyone who encountered him would seek revenge. God placed a mysterious mark upon Cain, a sign meant to protect him from being killed. Then came the defining moment in the narrative. So Cain went out from the presence of the Lord and settled in the land of Nod, east of Eden. With that single sentence, the Bible introduces one of its most mysterious locations. The story of Cain raises a question that readers have been asking for thousands of years. Who was Cain afraid of? After murdering Abel, Cain tells God, "Whoever finds me will kill me." But at this point in Genesis, the Bible has only introduced 4 people: Adam, Eve, Cain, and Abel. Abel is dead. So who exactly was Cain worried about? The text becomes even stranger when Cain arrives in the land of Nod. Genesis tells us he takes a wife, begins a family, and eventually builds a city. Cities do not exist with 3 people. These details have puzzled scholars, theologians, and historians for centuries. Traditional interpretations usually try to solve the problem by suggesting that Adam and Eve had many unnamed children who spread across the world. But the story itself never actually says this. Instead, Genesis quietly suggests something much more mysterious. There were already other people living outside Eden. To understand why this possibility exists, we have to look closely at the structure of Genesis itself. The Bible actually contains 2 separate creation narratives. Genesis 1. In the first chapter of Genesis, God creates humanity all at once. So God created mankind in his own image. Male and female, he created them. In this version of the story, humanity is created collectively. Men and women appear together. Humans are commanded to fill the earth. There is no Adam. There is no Eve. Humanity simply appears. Then suddenly the story restarts. In Genesis chapter 2, the narrative shifts dramatically. Now the creation of humanity is told in a completely different way. A single man named Adam is formed from dust. A garden called Eden is planted. Adam is placed inside the garden. Later, Eve is created from Adam's rib. This second account is far more personal and mythic. But when placed side by side, the 2 chapters appear to describe 2 different creations. Genesis 1 describes humanity as a whole. Genesis 2 introduces a specific pair of humans, placed in a controlled environment. This distinction becomes extremely important when we return to Cain. Because if humanity already existed outside Eden, then Cain entering the land of Nod suddenly makes sense. Long before the Bible was written, civilizations in Mesopotamia recorded their own origin stories on clay tablets. These were the Sumerian tablets. Some of the most famous include the Atrahasis epic, the Eridu Genesis, the Enuma Elish. These texts are thousands of years older than the book of Genesis, and they tell a story that sounds strangely familiar. In the Sumerian traditions, the gods, known as the Anunnaki, rule the earth. But the gods face a problem. The lower gods, called the Igigi, are forced to perform exhausting labor. They dig canals, they build cities, they work the land. Eventually, the Igigi revolt. They refuse to continue the work. To solve the crisis, the higher gods decide to create a new species, a species designed specifically for labor. According to the Atrahasis epic, humanity is created by mixing clay with the blood of a god. The purpose is stated directly. Humans were made to do the work the gods no longer wanted to do. Humanity becomes a workforce species. When scholars compare the Sumerian text with Genesis, the similarities are difficult to ignore. In Genesis, Adam is formed from dust or clay. He is placed in a garden. His task is to work and tend the land. The Hebrew word used for this labor is abad. It means to serve, to work, or to labor for another. The same core idea appears in the Sumerian stories. Humans exist to maintain the land for the gods. Different cultures, different languages, but the same underlying pattern. The garden as a controlled space. In the Sumerian myths, the gods often establish sacred garden-like environments tied to divine rule. In Genesis, Eden functions in a similar way. It is a managed space, a place where the first humans are placed under supervision. Adam's role is clear. The Lord God took the man and put him in the Garden of Eden to work it and take care of it. This is the beginning of a specific assignment. But the narrative itself leaves the door open. Because once Cain leaves Eden, he immediately encounters other people. When Cain travels east, the Bible does not describe him entering an empty wilderness. The land of Nod appears to be a place where human society already existed. According to the Sumerian king list, civilization itself was believed to have been granted by divine beings. In that sense, the biblical story of Cain building the first city may preserve a distant memory of the same ancient belief. When the Hebrew authors composed Genesis, they were living in a world already shaped by Mesopotamian mythologies. The same core ideas remain, but the story is rewritten through a new theological lens. The many gods of the Sumerians become one god. The complex divine hierarchy disappears. The narrative is simplified, yet traces of the older traditions remain embedded in the story. Small details, strange questions, like Cain's fear of other people, or the mysterious civilization already waiting in the land of Nod, east of Eden, east of the earliest rivers of Mesopotamia, toward lands that would later become some of the most important regions in ancient history, the lands of Elam, the Iranian Plateau, and the ancient civilizations that rose there long before the classical Persian Empire. And perhaps, if some ancient traditions are to be believed, into lands where knowledge far older than the Bible itself was already waiting.